Okay, allegedly I'm live. This is just a test, really. A test of a number of things. Will YouTube let me be live? Let me put a bit more light on the subject. Yeah, YouTube seems to have it in for me these days. So I'm back. Yet another YouTube channel. And I'm going to start doing a weekly End of the World show, because on the other channels that I had, I did that. But because they were streamed and I didn't download them, they've mostly been lost. And so I'm going to do them again. It's the same stuff. The End of the World is the same every time I make the show. The End of the World goes something like this: whether you like it or not, we have fucked up the atmosphere. A lot of people don't understand the consequences of that. And so I'm going to make the End of the World show to entertain you as it happens to us. It's going to be great. Honestly, the End of the World is always fun. After all, it's happened so many times, hasn't it? Think about it. The End of the World has been coming for, well, since you were born, really. The End of the World is coming for everything that ever lived. As soon as you're born, you're on the trajectory to the end of your life. So it's not really the end of the world. Oh, Gerbot. Wow, how nice to see somebody. I thought I was just doing a sound check here. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? The planet is fucked. It's our fault, and it's getting worse. Woo! Is that you, Lou? Or if that is your real name. Yeah, most of the End of the World shows were lost because YouTube deleted my channels. So I'm going to start making them again, just to remind people of how it's going down. See, I often joke, hey Deke, I often joke, hey me, hey you, hey Lou, I wouldn't tell you how fucked we are if I was them, but I'm not them, so I'm going to tell you. We're really fucked. I mean, seriously. Not the planet, not really. It's not, the end of the world is not the planet's fucked, really. That is kind of a joke. No, it's the end of your world. It's the end of shopping for whatever you can get and getting whatever you want. It's the end of where's my fucking pony? And I'm free. Isn't it great being free in the free world? It's the end of all that stuff because it is necessary in order to fix the stuff we have fucked up, to impose global tyranny on everybody and strip them of the benefits of industrial consumerism, bend them over, fuck them in the ass, and make most of them go away. At least, you know, as far as I can tell from reading the entrails of the chicken, that is the consequence chicken. There's this consequence chicken, and we killed the consequence chicken and ripped it open and had a look at its entrails, and the consequence chicken said, "You fucked." OG Skywatch, hello. Oh, it's nice to see. Hey, we're a crowd now. Me and Gerbot, we were just a couple of guys, but now we're a crowd. Welcome to the End of the World show. As I was saying, I've made quite a few End of the World shows, but I stream them, so they're all lost since YouTube deleted my channel. So I'm going to make them again. Saturday nights, I will try and arrange some kind of two-way telecommunication, maybe like a FaceTime or a Skype, something that, so we can have people on to either talk about how they're enjoying the end of the world or how they feel about the end of the world, whether or not they in fact believe it's the end of the world. And we could toss the salad of how fucked you think we are in a light salad dressing of exponential climate change, monotheistic government tyranny. Wow, Matthew Cattle. Good evening. Good evening. Gosh, now we're almost a horde. We've gone from a duet to a trio. Now we're a full-on band. It's the band playing at the end of the world. Let's rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, shall we? As we're going down, bow first. I am not betting against humans. I should say about the End of the World show. It's just a way of having some fun as we observe the entrails of the consequence chicken. But I wouldn't bet against humans, unlike, gosh, what's that guy's name? Professor Emeritus Guy McPherson. Anyone heard of Guy McPherson? He says you should make peace with your loved ones and do whatever it is you do to enjoy yourself because we're all going to die in a decade. I don't buy that shit. I don't. If I was writing a science fiction novel, if I was to write a positive science fiction novel about how I think the next sort of era of humanity went, it goes like this. The evil bastards in charge of everything killed quite a lot of us. Really, they killed billions of us. And then with a handful of million or 500 million of people they've got left, they build a giant industrial system of carbon capture. And they take enough carbon out of the atmosphere to stabilize the runaway climate change and save themselves and a few hardy breeding pairs. And then they go on with human civilization in a much more reduced way. Russian game of chicken over Ukraine. Yeah, I'm not sure if anything's going to go down there. And even if it did, what are we going to do? Wag our fingers at them. Wag our finger at them from our gas centrally heated civilization in Europe powered by Russian gas? I don't think so. What's America going to do, fresh from having its ass kicked in Afghanistan by goat herders with rusty Kalashnikovs, or beaten out of the fucking the deserts of Syria and Iraq by the Russian Air Force, by the way? No, I don't see anything happening in Russia. And if it did, in Ukraine, if it did, it would be a sideshow to the famine. I think that the cheapest and most effective way of killing large numbers of people is to starve them. And there doesn't even have to be a famine, by the way. Has anybody heard this phrase recently? Supply chain crisis. Oh no, not a supply chain crisis. Yeah, supply chain crisis. There doesn't have to be no food for you to starve to death, by the way. There was plenty of agricultural land in Ethiopia during the, what was it? Fucking Feed the World. Do you remember when we were going to feed the world? Feed the world. Yeah, do you remember that? Well, we didn't feed the world. And in fact, Ethiopia was overflowing with good grade A agricultural land at the time. There was no shortage of agricultural land. The only problem was it was growing coffee to pay off debts to the IMF, who controlled the government through a series of financial instruments. CO2 capture, like bailing out the Titanic with a teaspoon. It is at the moment, but I think you'll find it's a linear problem. It's simply a linear problem. Removing carbon from the atmosphere currently costs around $100, maybe down to 50 some places. Iceland's kicking off quite a large direct air capture facility. The biggest one in Europe is to be built in Scotland, near the defunct Dounreay nuclear power station, and they're springing up all over the world. It won't be long before the cost of carbon capture is down to $10 per ton. That is $10 a ton. Now, there's 2,400 billion tons in the atmosphere, so if it only cost $1, it would cost $2,400 billion. But let's say it costs 100 times, $100 a ton. Plants, Gerbot, I hate to break it to the people about the plants, but the problem with plants is they're the new kid on the block. They arrive, they take some carbon out of the atmosphere, and the average lifespan of even a tree is about 20 to 30 years because of deforestation and our consuming the wood. So you see, if you take carbon from fossil fuels from, say, 5 to 10 million years ago in oil and gas and coal, and you introduce it to the atmosphere, and then some trees take it out for 10 or 20 years, and then they put it back as they get consumed, burned, rot, are used, then all you're doing is like taking a short breath in a fire. It's not enough. Trees do not lock it up for long enough, and they don't lock enough of it up. And there isn't enough land on planet Earth to plant enough trees to take even 1/10 of the tonnage of CO2 extra that we put in during the last 300 years. Yeah, well, let's say if it's 2,400 billion tons, 1 billion tons a year will take us 2,400 years. Oh, we're totally fucked. So at the moment, we're not even taking a ton a year out. So until we reach, say, I mean, if you wanted to remove the carbon in the same 300 years we put it into the atmosphere, you would need to, I need a calculator. What's 2,400 billion divided by 300? Okay, I've got a calculator here, right? So let's just do that. We've got 2,400 billion is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2,400 billion divided by 300 years. Anybody want to correct me on the maths? We would need to take out 8,000 million. That's 8 billion, right? We would need to be taking out 8 billion tons a year for the next 300 years. That's if our civilization could last 300 years as planet Earth goes plus 6 G global mean surface temperature. Yeah. I wouldn't bet against us. I wouldn't bet against humans pulling it off. But let's say you wanted to do it in 100 years, right? Say you wanted to do that in 100 years. So let's go back. 2,400 billion tons. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There you've got the amount of extra carbon in the atmosphere. You want to do that in 100 years? How much in 100 years? Divide that by 100. Oh, then you'd have to take, it's fairly straight, 100, 2,400 million tons a year you'd have to take out to remove the carbon in 100 years and forestall the melting of both ice caps, a wet bulb temperature on most places on Earth that would boil your insides like you were a frog in a fucking French restaurant. So one famous mathematician once said, humans' biggest problem is the inability to understand the exponential function. And I agree, because you'll have to do some reading and get your head around the exponential function. But the important thing about the exponential function from our point of view is by the time you notice it's too late, it's too late. If you have an exponential growth of lilies in your pond, in your garden, one day when you look out and you say, there's some lilies in the pond. Oh yeah, we should do something about that. The next day when you look out and half your pond is covered in lilies, you're finished. Because the next day, the whole pond is lilies. And that's kind of where we're at. We've just noticed, if you like, hey, there's an awful lot of carbon in the atmosphere. Isn't that going to cause a problem? Yeah, it is. And then you're fucked the very next day. And so that's where we're at. We are totally fucked. And that brings me to the pandemic. I'm having trouble believing the pandemic is going to kill enough people quickly enough, because at the moment, they're just not dropping like flies. In fact, they're not dropping at all. In Scotland, barely anybody has died. In Britain, it's 140,000, which spread over 2 years is 70,000 a year. That's fuck all. We lost that many to flu in 2014. So the pandemic's not doing it. Maybe, I'll give you this. Yeah, sea level. I'm not really worried about sea levels. I'm not going to stand on the beach as the water. Oh no, the sea levels are rising. Oh no, it's 50 in 5 years. I'm going to drown. If only I could move. Yeah, I don't really care about sea level rise and polar bears as well. You can fuck the polar bears. They're fucking toast. Man, we did for the giant cave bear, the giant wolf, the giant sloth, the mammoth. Do you think we give a fuck about polar bears? Really? Man, pandas are only still here because the Chinese are fucking them, breeding them. They're not literally fucking them. So, if I were at the table This is another scene. I like to imagine I'm at the table like I was invited to the Last Supper. Okay, let's get the Bilderbergs in. We got the World Economic Forum. We got the Masons. Are you from the Vatican? Bring the Vatican in. Yeah. The royal family. Prince Andrew, nice to see you again. I haven't seen you since Lolita Island. Come on in, come on in. So we're all at the table, okay? The movers and the shakers. Mr. Xi Jinping, have a seat. Have a seat. Mr. Putin, do come in. Okay, guys. What are we going to do? Did everybody get the memo about how fucked we are and we can't go on with industrial consumerism anymore? Okay. Let me bring you up to speed, okay? Basically, broad sweeps, we've got to get rid of most of the people on the planet. So, I'm open to suggestions, any ideas. We'll make this a secret ballot. If you'd all like to put your suggestions down on this piece of paper and drop them in the box, I'll read them out at the end of the meeting and we can have a little chin wag. Meanwhile, let's go over how we're going to streamline our decision making. We're going to streamline our decision making on the planet. We're going to have a fast track decision making process so that we're all on board with you. Maybe it's a WhatsApp group. I like the thought that Putin, Xi Jinping, the Queen, the Pope, and the other movers and shakers, the head of the Masons, whoever that is, they're on a WhatsApp group. Hey man, it says here it's time for Plan C. Okay, Plan C. Elon Musk builds another fucking spaceship. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are secretly in cahoots to build a space station big enough for all the rich fuckers to escape to, while planet Earth is vacuum cleaned, free of humans. Yeah, Depop. It's not that I'm convinced they're doing depopulation. I should say, by the way, there are three ways the people at this imaginary table, the Last Supper, at the end of the world. There are three ways they're going to fucking kill us. Number one, they're too stupid to do the right thing. That's my favorite. I would say that is my favorite because of their track record. That's, just have a quick look in the history books. Don't read it. Just a quick look. Look at the pictures. They're too stupid to do the right thing. They don't know what the right thing to do is, and they do some crazy fucked up shit instead. They're too stupid. Number two, at the Last Supper meeting of all of the world's movers and shakers, they can't agree what to do. They fall out with each other. They're inept, bungling, and they're not up to the job of actually managing this planet. They don't have the chops. They're not just too stupid. They don't collectively have the fucking nonce. All right, and number three is they're just going to kill us all. Well, proposition number one and number two still might happen afterwards. They are going to kill us, but just while they argue about what to do or just while they do the fucking stupid stuff anyway. To a degree, if you think of shrewdness as being smart enough to keep your mouth shut about how they're all in on it, I should like to point you in the direction of it's like 100 companies own everything of value on this planet. Honestly, we might as well be a fucking mining asteroid in a science fiction B movie. We might as well be. It's just one system. That's what it is. Some people say the world's too big and complicated to understand. It's not if you're sitting at the fucking monopoly board of the world, is it? It's not if you're sitting at the risk board of the world. It's not too complicated to understand. If you know that, in fact, there are only a couple of dozen families and mafias, the Chinese mafia, the Russian mafia, the Indian mafia, the Vatican mafia, the royal mafia, the fucking American mafia. There's really only a few groups who are involved in owning this whole fucking rock in space. And we are their chips. If you live in America, you're Joe Biden's chips. He's betting with you. Yeah, I got some people here. I put my chips on black. And the Queen, the Commonwealth, she's the biggest landowner in the world, head of the state of more land than the fucking Queen of Sheba. The people under her territories, you're her chips. You're her little fucking betting tokens. I say we kill them all and move to Jeff Bezos's rather lovely space station. And the Catholics, all the Catholics in the world, you're the fucking Pope's chips. You're his gambling stake. You're the reason he's at the table. Yeah, we are about to become obsolete. That's what's going to happen to us. And as I say, I'm broadly in favor of that. I'm broadly in favor of that because if I were managing the planet and I looked out across the pastures and meadows of my domain, I'd be thinking, gonna need a lot of shotgun shells to thin out the herd. As Bill Hicks said, let's figure out the food air thing before we squirt out any more fucking miracles, eh? I kind of agree with Bill Hicks. Population control is not the same as eugenics. I don't want to design a master race. I would be quite happy if we could just manage the theme park we're living in. Let's just manage the safari park so that, we're not shitting in our water and pissing in the ocean and poisoning the sky and eating each other's feces. So, OG Skywatch, Matthew Cattell, Gerbot, Doug Pinner, and everybody else. Thanks for tuning in. I thought I was just going to have a little mic check. I didn't even bother doing any green screening or anything. I just thought I would see if YouTube was letting me stream and have a little fun and reprise the themes that I'll be working with. I assure you, when I come back, right, the next time I do a show, right, I'll have the suit on, the shirt, the tie, and some splendid graphics about famine and global hegemony. Honest, I will. Yeah, R.I.P. Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks, Frank Zappa, George Carlin, and others. Where are our crazy prophets when we need them? Yeah, we can't rewild, Matthew Cattell. The amount of land you need as a nomad is enormous. And agriculture quickly becomes the domain of empire. Empire is based upon the surplus produced by agriculture. The very first empires, the Mesopotamian basins, the city-states of Ur, and all that stuff, they were based upon the surplus produced by agriculture. That's what allows you to put 10,000 people behind a shield, give them a sword and say, you're going to Greece to kill them and take over their land. Because none of these people have to go hunting for berries. They've all got a baguette of bread stuffed down their kilt. And so with surplus, you have empire. And with empire, you need agriculture. Okay. I seem to be frozen. I'll just leave it there. Next time, graphics, suit, the whole enchilada.